Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another live stream. Right, let's just dive straight into it today. No waffle, no fuff, no muss. So, in the last live stream, we were trying to add some functionality to make the add PCB button work. What add PCB button are we talking about? Well, this one. And then we got slightly sidetracked onto doing localization stuff. And now we're going to go back to doing add PCB stuff, code. However, there were some issues. So I'm like, what are we actually going to need to do next? I thought off stream. And it turns out we need some dialogue stuff. So I had to look into how to create dialogues. And then stuff happened. Stuff happened. Yeah, modals. So let's show you what I'm talking about. All right, okay. So a modal is this kind of thing. So this is in the Cushy code base. This is the modal example. And hopefully it'll run at some point soon. I'm not sure what happened there. Oh dear. Hold on a second. Why is it confused now? Oh, I did some renaming of things and now it's all gone pear-shaped. Typical. Oh dear. Oh, why is it gone? Yeah, examples talking. No, it's correct. I renamed this. What line? What file? Failed to pass manifest. Yes, it's true. Oh, example. Oh, I see. Tasks talk here. I think that should be. Okay, yes. Let me fix that rename. I was updating my Cushy branch. I renamed a bunch of examples so that when you're browsing through the list of examples, you can find them by topic, subtopic, as opposed to subtopic, topic, which isn't useful. So, for instance, now we've got modals, and then we've got nested modals, but I've got some commits which we're going to use which we're going to pull in a minute to fix this. Right. So let's run this example again, finally. So modals. So show modal. It shows a modal. And you can't click anything. You're not supposed to be able to click or interact with anything else other than the things that are on the modal. And what we want in our app is like a little form inside a modal, which asks for the name of a PCB and the type of a PCB, whether it's a single PCB or a panel. So I'm like, okay, well, how do we do that? I thought. So I created a little example of like how you add a form to it. Well, I tried to, but I was getting a bit confused by the modal API. And I also ran into some other issues, such as when you've got nested modals, because you want to show the form, and then maybe you want to go OK, and then maybe you want to do form validation, and then maybe you want to say, are you sure? Which means you've got a modal on top of a modal on top of a window, right? So you've got nested modals. So it was a bit confuzzling on how you do all this stuff. So we create some commits. Let me deal with that last commit that we just had. Hold on. So I've got the fix. Git. What have we got to do? We've got to squash that. Git. Oh dear, no. Rename examples by topic. Git. Then we've got to cherry pick that commit that we just did. This one. And then we've got to squash that. Like that. And then push that to the PR that I created earlier. Oops. And everything's fine there. Right, okay. Let me get the other commits that we did. Which are in another branch. Yeah. Oops. And let's pull that in again, which was the cherry pick of that one. There we go. Yeah, okay. And then we've got another branch, which is improved modal examples, which is this one. Yeah. There is a way of getting a series of commits from one branch onto another one, but I can never remember the syntax, so I'm just going to quickly cherry pick them in order. If someone could remind me in the chat of the how you do this. I've got one branch called MakerPnP, and then I've got another branch called Improve Modal Example, and I want all the commits from that, from where it diverged from main, onto this other branch. But I never remember the syntax for it, so I'm just going to cherry pick them manually. Oh dear. Oh, it does help if you log the right branch, doesn't it? Those commits. There's like a rebase onto or something like that. Oh dear, what happened there? That's better. This is the less fun side of software development. Oh, there's a merge commit as well. Oh no. Oh no, it's going to all go pear-shaped. What do we? Oh, I'm not sure whether we can deal with this. Oh man. I don't. You can't. You can't cherry pick a merge commit. Yeah. Ah, see, I hate merge commits. Maybe there's nothing in it. Maybe it's just the merge. Oops. Okay, we might be okay. All right, let's have a look. Hopefully this is all fine. So now we've got modal split, which is a new example I made. Let's have a quick look at this. We don't actually need this for this particular task that we're doing, but I'll show you it anyway, just so you can see what you can do. So the idea is you've got a window and you've got a left-hand pane and a right-hand pane, and they can each have modals. And you can interact with this modal and you can interact with this modal. And the modals belong to the container that they're in, which might be useful. Quite how that interacts with tabs, not entirely sure. So the idea is that you want to be able to change tabs with a modal for that tab open. We're going to see if that'll work at some point in the future. But anyway, so we've got that. But in doing this, I discovered that there's some issues with the keyboard navigation and focusing support where you can press tab and you can focus the elements behind it. And if you press space, you can also interact with the thing behind it, which is really not what you want. So I raised an issue for that. Did honestly, here it is. Focus issues. Yeah. So I raised an issue for that as well. You know, because we want to improve everything. And then the other thing we did was do this modal nested one. Here we go. So this is sort of the more real world example that we actually need to do for this add PCB task that we've got to do. Wait. Oh, I see. Okay. And also the author helped on this a little bit. So removed some of the stuff that we didn't need. So now we've got a... No, hold on. Sorry. This one. Looking at the wrong one. Too many examples. Okay. So this is what we had before, modal, right? But now we've got forms as well. And there's some weird stuff that's going on in this, and I'm not really sure what the expected behavior is, but the button seemed to have expanded. But I don't think it's the button that's expanded. The container that the modal is in expanded. And as a result of that, the button also expanded, which is a little bit odd. I'm going to chat to the author of Cushy and find out what the expected behavior of this and what the best way of dealing with this is. But the point is that we can have a form inside a modal with the validation as well, which is good. And when the form is valid, we can make it say, are you sure? And you can say no, or you can say yes, at which point it closes. And there were issues with the OK button closing the form before you could ask whether you were sure. So there wasn't a modal on top of a modal. The first modal was closing, and then the are you sure prompt was opening up. And at that point, you've lost the form if you say no, so that you can go back to the form and change it. So it got reworked a little bit. So now we've got sort of like an example of like real worldy kind of use case scenario that we're dealing with, which is good. So that all seems fine. So let's push the MakerPnP branch of Cushy. Right, and tag it. We're going to add a new tag. 2025-01-13 at 15:14 with no message. And we'll push that tag up. Right, then what we can do is go to the MakerPnP project and then update the cargo dependency for MakerPnP to use the tag that we just created. Thus, and then we can do a cargo update here. And then we'll get our modals and all the other nice commits that we just created, which is all good. And do we do a cargo test? Probably not a bad idea. And while we're doing that, we'll go back to where we actually want to add some code, right? So close the tabs. There we go. So in the code for the MakerPnP UI, we've got this on toolbar message, which is handling the fact that the user clicked add PCB. And we get this message because the button that we added to the toolbar, this one, says when it's clicked, emit the message, add PCB. And then that eventually gets passed to the on toolbar message. So we can probably deal with that somewhere around here. So maybe let's go what? Add PCB. And then we can deal with stuff here. We don't have a mutable self here. On toolbar message. This self here is mutable. Don't know whether we need a mutable one yet, but let's find out. We probably do. Did the test pass? Yes. Yes, they did. Okay, let's do a quick commit to add. What's going on here? Right, we don't need this yet. So I guess this is all the dependency updates, yeah, that we just did, and then we've got this, yeah, right, okay. GUI, yeah. Yeah, that, okay. Let's push those to the repo. Okay. All right. So now we can actually start creating this dialogue. Modal by another name. So let's have a look. So the way that you do these modals is a bit funky. But you know, it is what it is. So what you need is a widget, and then you go and then you go with modal. And then you go into layers, and then you get a Z stack orientated set of widgets. A Z axis stack. Right? So you need a modal. The modal is created by just doing this. You know, well, how does that work? I don't know. Let's just go with it. So, but we don't do that. We don't do that in this handler, right? So we need to create this modal, but then not use it, and then later have a button that shows it using some handle. So where we create a project, we've got a widget somewhere. This thing, make widget. This is where we create all the stuff. So I guess what we need here is that modal thing here. I guess. So then we need to do the blah, blah, blah and into layers thing, right? So we've got a project explorer, we've got a content pane. Now, where's the modal going to go? Is the modal going to go in the content pane, or is it going to go on the project as a whole? Feels like it should go on the project as a whole, because you shouldn't be able to interact with the project explorer while you're adding a PCB. So we've got project explorer and the content pane, right? So let's assign that to a local variable like this. And then what we're going to say is project UI no and a modal into layers, right? And then we've got a modal, right? And everything should be fine. Let's look at the next thing we've got to do while it compiles. So the more complex example is the one that's like this, right? So I created form, which is going to mimic the same kind of thing that we need to do when we're adding a PCB. In this example, which was the name and the kind. Now, I'm not entirely sure whether the kind thing should really have none A and B, or whether it should be an optional kind, or what. But I found the validation to be easier if I did it this way. Not so much the validation, but just the whole general creation of the radio buttons for it. Because if you didn't have that here, then you would need an optional kind here, and then there would be no default here, and then it gets all very confused. Because what you want is a radio group where the user must select something, but there is no default option, as in the user must choose it. That's what we're trying to deal with. So I ended up with a kind with 3 things in it. So the UI representation, that. So somehow we've got to create this. We've got to create this form, right? Which is, has its own make widget thing as well. And it's got its own validation stuff and all that kind of thing. But what we need is a handle. And we need a handle so that we can refer back to this form at some later point in time. So yeah, because this one has an on-click handler which creates a handle, and then it uses the dialog builder to build it, and then it calls the show method on it. But we're in an on-click handler. But in our case, we're not in an on-click handler. We are in, well, we're going to be in this. So what we want to do is like add PCB modal show. We want to do something like that. Right? And this is going to be the handle. So let's add that to the project. What, modal handle, I think it is. Oh, no, modal handle, one of those. Right, now how do we get one of those? Is there a default for modal handle? Because I don't have one. So this goes modal new handle, but you can't get a modal handle until you've got a modal itself. So not fun. Shall we say, is this one of these cases where you go maybe on init and use unsafe? I don't, because yeah, because I don't really care. I don't want to create an optional one, because every time I create an optional one, I know I'm going to have to unwrap it every time I want to use it. Because in embedded code, you use maybe on init quite a lot for cases like this. And the idea is that the code that you're going to call later is going to assume that the thing always exists, and it can't not exist at the point that it's used because of some reason in the code. But if you call bits of the code out of order, there is a chance that it could be uninitialized. So you have to say that I'm sure that I created it correctly when you write the unsafe block. But I don't know whether I should be adding unsafe code in here at this point. Because up until now, all the code has been not unsafe. So I'm going to go with the option and suck it and just call unwrap everywhere, which I don't really like, but it is what it is. So there's going to be no handle, which is fine. And then at some point, some other code is going to call make widget, at which point we can get handle and store it. So I suppose we can go self dot add PCB replace with a modal dot new handle. Okay, and then we've got that. Great. Oh yeah, we need that one as well. Okay. Right, and this is what I was saying about that I don't want to have to call unwrap everywhere, because now I do need to call unwrap everywhere and then go show. Maybe. Is there a show on the handle? Oh dear. It's worse. You have to go as ref. Oh, I'm getting confused by the API again now. We're going to see where this goes. What can we do? Maybe this is where we build the dialogue right here. Okay, we're going to try it. Fine. Fine. So what we're supposed to do next is create a form, build a dialogue, and add some buttons to it, and then do some stuff with it. So let's deal with that first. Let's do the same thing here. And this needs to close. So we're just going to make a form that does nothing to start with. I think that's what I want. New item dialogue. Oh yeah, this is the. It should close as this, and this is going to be the add PCB. What form? I suppose so. So we're going to need this now. Okay, let's create a mod for that. Shall we? We know we're going to create more than one dialogue, don't we? We do. I mean, do I want to do it like this? Mod dialogues? I suppose I do. Right, then finally we can go struct add PCB form or something. I'm not sure whether this should be form here at this point or dialogue. Should we make it dialogue? No, I'm going to call it form to start with, and then we'll because I think some of the other code that I'm about to do in here needs to be somewhere else. But anyway. Add PCB form, right. Oh, yeah. Okay, and this is going to have a dynamic thing for the name, which is just going to be a string. So let's just deal with that first, and then we'll start adding other elements to it at some point. Right. Why can't I import this? Is it because this needs to be public? No. Yes. Okay. And we need to be able to get some validations from it, but we're going to come back to that. What happens if we try and compile it at this point? Right. Unclosed delimiter. Oh, it does. Why? Where? What's... Oh, I see. Right. So we don't have a make widget thing on there. So if we remember from our example, we've got a implement make widget for a reference of one of these things. So we need to do the same as this. And at some point, we're going to have to return some widgets. So if we go name, do label, make widget, but it's not an item form, it's an add PCB form. Okay. Okay. Progress is being made. So let's go back to this for a moment. And we've got this with default button, and then we've also got this with cancel button. So let's deal with the cancel button as well, real quick. And we're going to have to deal with the internationalization of these ones. So I don't know what form button, okay. And then say localize. Because we can't just be slapping strings in the code base. Cancel. Going to make them the same for now, like that. Okay, let's see if this compiles. So we've got a default button, we've got a cancel button. One says okay, the other says cancel. We need to add these to the translation files. And the other was form button cancel. And we need to write those in Spanish as well. And we're going to use our favorite translator thing for it. Okay and cancelar. Okay is okay. Is it? I'm going to go with it. Not entirely sure whether okay is actually okay. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Okay. And let's see if the add PCB button shows a dialog, a modal, which has got some buttons on it. And it said, okay, that's good. Oh, not open. And cancel. And it says cancelled. So we've got a dialogue that works. Let's see if it behaves as we expect it to. So we can interact with the tabs. Right, this is good. This is how I wanted it. So when I switch tabs, I've still got a dialogue open on this, which is good. And something's broken in here now as well. I'm not sure what's gone on here. I don't know when that broke. But the tab name is no longer updating itself. There's always something to fix, isn't there? But we've got a modal on this tab, but we can still switch tabs. So this is what we want. We don't not be able to interact with the other tabs. We want to still allow the user to look at one tab, switch to the other tab and go, oh, let's use the same name. So for instance, you've got a form and you want to copy the name that you used in another tab. So for instance, you could go to the other tab, you could look at the names of the PCBs and you could interact with it somehow, copy the name of it, and then use the same name in the other one, for example. This is what we want. So, good. Progress. Let's do a quick work in progress commit. Show a dialog when the add PCB one is clicked. We added that. We added the mod. We added some of this. We did the layers. We added the bit of code that creates the dialogue. And yeah, and we added some translations as well. Okay, so that's all good. All right, what's next then? So let's add the prompt for the name to it and make that bit work. Not that. This. So in the example that I created, we've got a name input, which is this, and we've got a form item, and then we've got another one. And then so we need a sort of rows and columns and grids maybe and all this kind of thing, right? Now, in this example, I didn't use a grid. But we all know from prior experience that if you don't create grids, it looks terrible. But we also learn that when you add validations to things, the validations don't necessarily appear where you want them to. The last form that we created in this was the form for the new toolbar button at the top. So let's quickly revisit that. We got this one. Here it is. So the new tab creates a name label and it creates a name input and then it creates a row. And it creates other rows. And then it creates a grid. And then it creates some OK buttons. So we're going to borrow some of this. We're going to borrow. Oh dear. I've just noticed that the new form hasn't been internationalized properly yet. Let me add a to-do. To-do. Use localize macro for hard-coded English string. Yeah, I don't know. Let's just save. use translations instead of use. Okay, just use translation. Okay, I'll commit that separately. But anyway, we want a name. We want the same validation, and we want a row. And we're going to have the same problem with gutters as well. So let's copy all of that. Now, the reason I was thinking about this add PCB form, it's got this make widget. I don't know. It's like some of the code from somewhere else feels like it might need to live in here. But anyway, so let's replace that with this. And this self.name is this, so that's okay. And then this validations. Wait a second. That one came from here. We might need to move this. We're going to find out later. Oh, what happened there? Yeah. Yeah. We're going to do this as well. Thus. And apparently you can have default validations, so that's good. Right, so we're getting there, we've got all this, cannot be empty, name of that extension. We're going to deal with internationalization stuff in a little bit. And probably we're going to want constants for these at some point. And then we need our grid. So this is where I create a grid of widgets, and we create a grid. Here we go. So we're going to borrow that. We don't have a directory row yet. And this is, we're creating a grid, and each column needs its own dimension. So the first one is for the label, where we want it to dynamically resize to the width of the label, because the label needs to be translated to multiple different languages, and each language is going to have a different string, and the length of the string is unknown. So we've got our grid. And we don't have anything else in this, so we can just go grid.makeWidget. And now the makeWidget thing should be correct. So what happens now? Yeah. Yeah. This is what happens. So we've got this giant name thing, and it took up the whole width of the display of the window, which I don't think is what we want. But we'll come back to it. And if you press OK, it didn't do any validation. So we created this validations thing, but we're not actually using it yet. So we need to use it. We need to use this. So we added validations to this validations, but we didn't use it. So we're going to have to use it. So we've got this. This is where we need to check the form is okay. So I suppose here, we need to be able to do this. And then in the example that I created, I did something similar. which is this. So the idea is you get the validations, and if it's valid, it should stay open and display the validations. Otherwise, it should close it. But we need this validations thing. And this needs to return a reference to validations, I think. Yeah, okay. So we got that. Oh yeah. It does help if you put the closing brace there, doesn't it? And we need to move things to it now. We might be okay. Let's see what happens now. So now we've got form validation. Happy days. It says name without extension. This is wrong. This is just a copy and paste thing. So we're good. So when the form is valid, we can do stuff with it. This is good. Okay, let's deal with the internationalization of this stuff and fixing up all this placeholder and all this stuff. And we've got this cannot be empty thing here as well. This needs to be internationalized as well. Let's go localize what? Form error. I don't know. Input. We are dealing with inputs at this point, aren't we? I suppose. Probably that. Let's run with it. Sure. Something like that. So add a translation for that. Now what's it complaining about? Display is not implemented for localize. Oh. 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 Oh dear. Oh no. Oh. I think this needs to be updated to be maybe localized. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay. We'll come back to that one. Okay. We'll come back to that. Okay. We can probably deal with the other ones though. Localize form add. I don't know. Add what? PCB name input name. Yeah, go on then. Don't think we need interlabel on that. Okay, we'll borrow that bit again. Right, so we've got this placeholder. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Can't do that one either. Oh dear. Should we just borrow this same message? Well, no. I guess we won't be doing that today then. PCB name? I don't know. Maybe. And then we got we've got hints as well. Oh, I'm not even gonna try. What? Oh, I was supposed to copy that before I did it. Oh. So I guess we're going to be doing that. Just fix me's everywhere. Okay, fine. Okay, well. Let me just grab a screenshot of this. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to slap that screenshot in the... in the Vizier Discord. There we go. Yeah. All right. So we have to come back to that. Maybe I'll add support for that after this stream or something. Maybe I'll have a crack at it. Yeah, how hard can it be, right? Well, you know. Okay. Okay, moving on. So we've got some fix me's. Sure, let's just try and compile it. Make sure it still compiles. It compiles. We're good. We've got some warnings. I'll deal with those in a little bit. Okay, so yeah. I'm kind of curious to know how you get the dialogue to not take up the entire width of the container that it's in. I don't really want to do that. Do I care about that really right now? No, let's get it working and then make it look pretty. Okay. So the next field that we want is the kind field, right? The new form also uses a radio button, I think. Or maybe it didn't. No, it didn't. Okay, but we're just gonna borrow bits from one and bits from the other, and we're just gonna bundle it all together, and it's gonna be fine. So I guess what we need is another row on the grid, which is going to be the kind row, and another gutter row underneath that, probably. So the gutter row 2 is easy. Now we need a kind row. So a kind row is going to be created the same way that the name row is created, where we have a label that we need, and the input, the kind. What do we call it? Input still? I mean, it is sort of. I mean, I don't want to confuse things. Kind group, let's say. Okay. So the label. Let's do the label. It's not an input. Input group. It's kind of weird. Let's call it as a radio group like this. Like that. Form add PCB radio group kind. So that the translator has some context. And then let's add these to the translation file. Specifically, it's a PCB kind, I suppose. I mean, like, do we want to repeat the word PCB everywhere? Just name kind? I don't think we need to. Let's just go with name and kind like this. So we need a kind radio group now. Oh, and now we have fun. So in our example, we created a radio group called kind like this. Yeah. Okay, add PCB, and because we've got a type called PCB kind, which is like single or panel, but for the GUI we want none single or panel. Let's schlep this in here for now. And it's specific to the PCB form. Maybe that we need to move this later, but for now the only place it's used is here, so let's leave it here for now. Okay, so it's not going to have A and B. It's going to have what? Single and why did it do that? Panel, right? And that's all fine. So when you're creating a radio group widget, which we did in the example, you create the choices. Maybe choices is a better word than group. Yeah, okay, maybe we'll use the word choices. Okay. Find choices. I'm going to borrow that. And let's fix this here. Choices. Choice or choices? Oh no. When to use plurals, when not to use them. Choice. Choices. I suppose it makes more sense there. Okay, we're going to go with it like that for now. And we'll see. And this is going to be PCB kind. And this is going to be single PCB first. And labeled by, oh dear. We don't have kind on here yet, so we need that. PCB kind? No, just kind. Right, we're going to go with that. Right, now we're going to have some fun. Implement make widget. We should be okay here to use localized. So we can go localize. Boom. It's not complaining. This is good. Form, add, PCB, choice, kind. And then what is this? Single? Probably like that. And then I suppose panel is going to be like this. Yeah. Okay, that'll probably work. And then we need another one, which is going to be the panel. Oh. And that's going to be labeled by... let's break this up a bit, because... yeah, okay, fine. And then this is going to be labeled by something else. Labeled by... Where's the bracket for that gone? There it is. Panel. Right? Yeah, okay. And then we're going to need some validation methods. Let's just ignore that for the moment. And ignore that as well. And just put the semicolon on there. Come back to the validations in a minute. We've got all the rows. Let's see if it renders. And then we'll add the validation to it. So we've got that. Single panel. PCB name. And we're all good. Days. Okay, let's continue then. So we need this required thing, and we've got this, the same thing here, I suppose. Paste the same fix me's. Right, and we've got a validation. And we need a method. We'll validate PCB kind on self. But this self is one of these. I'm not entirely sure that self is the right thing there. We're just going to do it like this. And these need to be functions which return something which I can't remember what it was now. They return a result. Okay. We're going to borrow this. So it takes a reference to a PCB kind, then matches it. And if it's PCB kind none, then it says choose an option. But here we want to use internationalization. Form input choice empty. Yeah, I suppose that's okay. But we can't do it yet. But I'm wondering if the reason that we can't do it isn't because of the validations thing. I'm wondering whether it's because of this result type that's defined as being like this. I'll tinker around with that later. We'll keep the validation like this, right? So, so we've got a function which does validation. But now we've got sort of a mix of validation here and then another one here. So let's follow the same process of keeping all the validation methods in one place. I don't believe it's as a result of the return type, because here we didn't have a return type defined because it's just a closure thing here. And the return type, the actual type isn't specified. So let's do this the same way. So instead of this method call, we want that, I think. But not validate PCB kind, because that's the wrong validation method. We want validate name. And then this code is going to move into that main method that we're about to create. So we're going to cut that from there. Borrow one of those. Paste that code into it. Uncomment that, and then this is going to be a reference to a string. I think it's what gets passed into that. I think name. Not entirely sure. Oh no, it's just you get a string reference. Okay, form input error. Yeah, okay, that's the bit. So yeah. We've got a mismatch closing delimiter. Where? Oh no. Oh no. Oh yes, it's there. Okay. 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 All right. Yeah. Hi AR 58386 again. Yes, some validations, some translations. I'm trying not to get sidetracked by the translations today. Right, what happens now? So we've got a form and we go okay, and it says cannot be empty, choose an option. This is good. So we choose an option and it says cannot be empty. And I can't unchoose an option now, which is good. That's the behavior you want. Yeah, sorry, I just experimented with that. Default. And we should be able to go okay. And it says okay clicked. But we know that. So now we need to go, okay, if all the validations were okay, then print everything's okay. Let's try and look at that. Yeah. Now, where should the behavior be, or where should the code be that deals with the result of the dialogue, of the form in the dialogue? Yeah, it's going to be here for now, but yeah, we know this is working because otherwise it would close, so it's fine. So to actually add a PCB using the values from the form. So now we need to get the values from the form in here. Yeah. Okay, well, we've got a form, right? But I don't think we should really be exposing Sorry. I don't think we should really exposing these and make these public. The reason I'm thinking that is because this PCB kind thing here is sort of like, should really be like private to the form. It's like an implementation detail. So how about we go something like let I don't know, form dot result. How about we do that? Result. I mean, is result the right word to use? I'm going to go with it. And should it actually return a result? I mean, when I say should it return a result, obviously it should return a result, but what kind of result? Is the type of result a result type? I don't know. And let's pretend that we've got a result. And because we're in the true case here, that we know that we should have a result. We're going to call unwrap on this result, I think. And I think it probably makes sense. Yeah. Okay. And then what we're going to do an info, add PCB. And then we're going to go name and kind. And the important thing here is that there's always going to be a kind, because the form doesn't allow you to do the validation unless you've picked a kind. So it's not going to be an optional kind. And the kind is not going to be the type of kind from the form. It's going to be the kind from the main data structures that we're using. So let's try and make this work. We're going to put a... Yeah, I'm not sure what we're going to have there. So let's try and make this work. So, result. Something like that. Let's see if we can put this in. So these aren't going to be dynamic anymore. This is going to be a name string, and the kind is going to be a PCB kind, but it's not going to be that PCB kind. It's going to be planner app PCB kind. Yeah. And we're going to go what? If what not self dot. Oh wait, no. Self dot validations is valid. Have we got validations here? No, don't. Topic ID. We're just going to return an error like that. Otherwise, we're going to go OK and then add the result. And the name is going to come from self.name.get. What's this result come from? I don't know why it's prompting that. Yeah. I suppose it needs to be public. Why is it complaining about this? Expected to... Oh. Random garbage there. Oh, and we've got that there. Okay. That makes more sense. Right. Probably want to do that, right? Yeah. What? Clone? I'm not sure what we can do with the dynamic. Self.name is a dynamic. I suppose. Yeah. Oh, king. But we need to convert this kind into the correct type of kind. So I suppose we can go impl from PCB kind. Oh dear. For planner app PCB kind. I'm going to go match on the value. And then we got a problem with this one. So do we do try from instead? So this is going to be an error. And this is going to be an OK of single. And this is going to be an OK of panel. And we need a comma. So we need that. So we can't use... Where's our result method gone? This one. And we got the trying to. Oh, we got... So we might get an error here as well. Okay. Let's go let find is... What? Self.kind.get trying to map error. Do we need to map error here? I don't think we do, because the return type of this error is the same as this one, so we're probably okay. Okay, so now we've got a result. Result.name. These are private. These can be public here. That's the whole point of that. It's a result object. Okay. And this to-do moves down a bit. Right. So now, when we go add PCB, we go default, and we go single, and we go OK. And it died. Why? Unwrap failed. Why would that fail? Wasn't expecting that. Unwrap on an error value? What did I do wrong? Oh. I suppose we need a not here. I mean, should we go is... Yeah. Yeah, I started writing with a not there, and then I took it off. I got to put it back. Okay, fine. Let's try that again. Okay, add PCB. Default. And we go okay. Oh, look at this. Magic. Look, it worked. Add PCB. Name default kind single. We've got no options in sight. This is good. This is good. Okay, let's do a commit. Yeah, I mean, should we just amend this commit? Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, we'll just amend that one. It's fine. The other one doesn't really have any value without all this stuff that we just added to it anyway. Let's have a quick look at the translations and where we're at. Oh, we need to do some more Spanish translations. Nombre tipo individual panel. Okay, I'm going to run with it. Translations can always be improved if they're not correct. You don't have to be right first time. If they are, great. If they're not the end of the world. Right. Continuing review, that's right. We've got those as well. So, yeah. We've got that. Let's not commit that. So what we've got now is PCB kind added to the form. We've got form validation. We've got a bunch of fixed me's regarding these things not being valid. The form fields not being valid. Let me look at those translations for a moment. I want to add the error translations, even though they're not used. Should I do that yet? Or should I add the translation errors at the time that they are used? We've got nowhere tested it. They're not even visually. We'll add them later. When we do the fix me, we'll add the translations then. Okay. So we've got validations, we've got a name, we've got the name row, we've got the gutter, we've got the kind, we've got the choices for the kind. We've got a bunch of fix me's, we've got a row, we've got some widgets, we've got our grid. Yeah. Okay, clicked. Let's turn this into a info. Add PCB. Okay, clicked. Yeah, like that, I suppose. Make sure it compiles. Yeah. Wait. Oh, yeah. What happened to those? Huh? Did I cut those? I must have pressed the wrong button. Wait, what? No, they're here. What? I'm a bit confused by my IDE here. It's got another change set here. Okay. I'm going to amend that commit. We're okay, fine. Okay, so we've got all the things that we need and everything is good. Let's just run it, make sure it works. And then we're going to deal with warnings. Add PCB. Alt. Okay, clicked, and then we've got the name and the... Perfect. Okay, good. Let's have a look at the warnings. Okay. Yeah, we're going to deal with those later. Yeah, okay. Clean up the warnings. Oh, damn it. Just committed the thing that I didn't want to commit. Too hasty. Too hasty. I suppose. Let's try that commit again, shall we? We want all those, but we don't want this change. We do want all of these. Now we want to how to fix me for that. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll run all the tests. Not that it tests the GUI. Everything's fine. 2 commits. Let's go. Right. So we made some progress there. So we've got UI that allows us to ask the user for a PCB name and kind. So now what we need to do is call the Crux core, emit the event that creates a PCB, I suppose. Yeah. This thing, it creates this, it calls add PCB, and this calls add PCB. And then somehow we need to do this. We need to make this actually do something. See, this isn't really add PCB. This is display add PCB modal, let's say. Now, this is supposed to return a project action. And the problem is, when do we, I suppose we could have a project message. We could update the project message and say add PCB. That's probably what we want to do, because we create a message as a result of user interaction. And we'll try it. So we've got these user interactions, project message. Add PCB. Oh, we're just going to have name and kind here. Or, because we don't really want the... Or do we want, because these properties are always used together, right? So when properties are always used together, it normally means that they should be in a type by themselves, right? Okay, so dialogues, add PCB. Now this gives us an add PCB form result. Yes, it's the result of an add PCB form, but is it really? Is it the add PCB criteria? I'm not sure about criteria. More, because criteria objects are sort of more for searching, aren't they? Add PCB. What can we call this that doesn't include form result on the end? Add PCB. I don't want to call it data. No. Add PCB properties, fields. I'm sure there's a word that's going to be better. Let's go add PCB args. Let's go with args. Okay, so it feels like this could be pulled out of here. And then let's slap that in here for now. And that means we can add PCB args to this message, right? That feels reasonable. And it's public, so we're good. Right. So now we need to handle that message, but we're not emitting the message yet. So let's just make it do that for now. Then what? Guess there's nothing else to do at this point. And I suppose here is where we actually add the PCB by calling the call. But we need to emit that message first. But that's where we want to handle it. Yeah. So no. So we need to get a project message. What self dot message and go force set of a project message, add PCB result. Let's call this args. That's complaining bitterly now. Why? Let's see what happens if we compile. Okay. So here we can't do this because we're in a on-click handler. So we need to do message dot whatever. And then I suppose here we need to go let message is self dot message dot clone. And then we should be able to do it. Yeah. Okay, this is good. Okay. So then in this handler, we can futz around with a core. So for instance, we've got this save thing. So we go, and this is how we do it. So let's borrow that for a moment, plop it in here, and then have a look. So instead of returning action none, we need to return a task. That task might emit another message at some point. We don't need to chain anything. We do need to change something. Project message, task, none. Do we need to do that? Don't think we need to do that. Because this already gives us a task project message. So now instead of calling event save, we need to do event add PCB. And the add PCB event takes a kind and a name. It might work now. The problem is, if it does work, we're not going to know about it. The UI is just going to retain its old state. So we do actually need to do a chain, in fact. What we need to do is chain and then do another message, which is request view. And now we're going to need to get the project tree again so that the new PCB that we just added appears in the project tree. This might work. Let's find out. So we go add PCB, we go default, and we go single, and we go OK. Oh, look, it's there. Amazing. Let's add another one. Another. And it's going to be a panel. Amazing. We've added PCBs. Let's save it. And let's look at the file that is created. So we've got PCBs. Oh, there they are. Amazing. Look at this. Happy days. We've added a PCB using a GUI. Amazing. I'm shocked. This loading thing here is very broken, though. I don't know what's wrong with that. I've got some fixing to do afterwards, but we definitely made progress here. This is good. Okay, time to do a commit. Add a PCB when the add PCB form is submitted, I suppose. So we've got some, we moved some args. The result gives us the args. Yeah. Then we've got our args. We use that in a message. Then we had a handler for it, which uses the core service. Actually add the PCB. And we rename that as well. Move the debug message. What else did we do? We made it emit the message when the form is submitted. Yeah, seems okay. There's quite a lot of layers of indirection and all that in there. Is it any worse with the CLI? Let's have a quick look. So, if you remember the CLI, we can add a PCB in the CLI, right? So we've got our options. And we've got this add PCB. And here we've got like the PCB kind arg, which is very similar to what I ended up just creating in the GUI. And then these have to get mapped somehow using an into method, very similar again. But this PCB kind arg that's in the CLI doesn't have the none variant like GUI does. But the process of doing that is all very, very similar. I suppose technically there could be an intermediate object there, but I don't think you really need that. No. Yeah, okay, so now we've got both the CLI and the GUI can add PCBs. Amazing. Amazing. I think that's going to do it for this stream. My voice is still not fully recovered, and we've been going nearly 2 hours now. So I guess off stream, I'm going to have a look at adding the support for localization into the form widgets in form validation in Cushy, and then also fix the loading tab name thing because that broke somehow, and some I don't know when it broke, but it's broken. So I'm going to look at that. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy it, then do the subscribe button, and don't forget you can subscribe on Patreon as well. So you can subscribe to all the posts that are on there, and we've also got the Discord channel. So the links to that are in the video description. Okay, so just remember, folks, only software. How hard can it be? How hard can it be? We're gonna find out on the next one. See ya. Bye.